Hey everybody, I'm Wellman. I'm new here this year, and like Joe, I'm also on medication, so hopefully my voice doesn't give out. If it does, I will have to do the rest of the presentation in mine. So, what I want to talk about today was a tip I had learned about unit testing. I really like unit testing and test-driven development. When I learned this tip, it really sort of changed. It just provided me a new sort of go-to nugget to help me out when I had a problem with how to make my testing better and more effective. In fact, it's not really a tip, I'm going to call it a mantra. And Wikipedia calls mantra, some set of phrases that you can repeat that sort of bring you to some sort of transcendental place. At least that's what I thought it said 5 minutes ago. So essentially, the words in this tip are kind of like a mantra to me because they have this sort of rhythm in them and they take my brain somewhere else. And here's that tip. It's by a fellow named Zaros, who's a consultant in the Azure community, and he says, if a value is not important to the test, it is important that it not appear in the test. If a value is important to the test, it's important that it not appear in the test. So you kind of repeat that, and it sort of brings you places. Well, for me, what that tells me is that it really makes me realize the point about, tests should be readable. They should be readable for you when you're writing them, so you know what the point of your exercise is, the test that you're writing, the functionality. It should be readable for other folks who are going to work on your code. It should be readable to you in 6 months when you come back and there's a bug and you don't know what's going on. Let's look at a quick example. So here's, imagine some code that creates an account and does some stuff with it. Now what you notice about this test, and I'll give you a clue that what this is testing is say something about interest calculation or something. Now, the interesting thing is there's these details like the name of the person and here's the account number. Well, that's not really that important. So this is a pattern that Gerard Mazaros mentions. It's called the generated value pattern. It's kind of hard to see here in this green, but essentially what we've done is we've replaced that name John with a method called unique name, and the account number with a method called unique account number. And essentially those can just be some method somewhere else in your application. Essentially, you use these to indicate to the reader, hey, there's some values in here, but it's really not important what they are. In this case, it actually matters that they're unique. In this case, you might say, okay, just an account or some unique name or some name. So you can look that up on the web. Essentially, this is helpful. So when you go back and say, okay, I don't care about that information. But it turns out that stuff isn't really important for this test. In fact, you can use the builder pattern, which probably everybody here knows. You can use this to basically make it easy so you can really quickly create some information about your test data your test under class, your class under test. You might have to get to that in mind yet. And make it easy to build it. Now that's cool. There's a new library that's out. It's called Make It Easy. It's by the fellow Nat Price. He is one of the authors of JMock, and he's written a book, which I'll mention later. But this has some cool syntactic sugar for Java, which essentially does the same thing you saw earlier, but it's a little slicker. And you can do things like make an account with this, but not this. So I recommend you check it out. It's very cool. As far as books, X-Unit testing patterns, I mentioned that one. That is a large catalog of cool sort of techniques to clean up tests and make them more readable. And this book is called Growing Object-Oriented Software Guided by Tests by Steve Freeman and Nat Price. It came out last year and it's awesome. It's really all about how to use test-first or test-driven development and object-oriented design to make great software.